Welcome to Discover Indie Film. I'm your host, Jeff Howard. I'm very excited. I have two people on the microphones in the room with me. I have Samantha Jean and Mandie Cheung. Hey, you two.
Hi. How you doing?
Thanks for having us.
All right. And for those listening, if you have a good ear, Samantha's from Australia, so that's Samantha. And Mandie is a good old American girl. So that's how you'll be able to tell them apart. I always feel guilty when there's two people on a podcast because without faces, if their voices,
they're like,
it can be really hard
I suppose, yeah.
to know who's
tell us
talking.
apart. Yeah.
So anyway,
down here.
I'll try and ham up my accent.
I know you did. In your film, you are so convincingly American.
Thank you. I have
swear.
to really practice sometimes.
Yeah.
Because if I hear any other Australian, I'm like, oh, no, stop talking.
Exactly. Well, so I mentioned the word film. Their film, they collaborated on the film Other, which was at the Sherman Oaks Film Festival last year in 2021. It took home the Audience Award for Best Short Film Drama. Well deserved. And I'm proud to add, and you hear this a lot on this podcast, that their film Other is going to be in the Discover Indie Film TV series that should already be available by the time this comes out. It should release on September 15th. And I think this one will come out a couple weeks after that. I don't know. I'm kind of hard to keep track of time. But you should watch this film. You should go to Amazon Prime Video, type in Discover Indie Film. Just buy all of season 6, actually, because episode 1's all comedy, and then episode 2 is Maddie and Samantha's film Other, followed by Shevolution, which is also an awesome film. The whole series is all independently made films where people who cared so much about an idea, they made it for all the right reasons, normally self-financed or, crowdfunding is just actually a website bringing a bunch of friends together, right?
Totally. Totally.
There's no strangers involved in crowdfunding.
Not usually, and if there are, you're kind of like, thank you.
You're like, my Instagram reached that far?
It is.
Thank you.
Yeah, it is a weird thought. So please watch Other. And at the end of this chat, we will talk about how you can follow Samantha and Mandie on social media and stuff. But I will go ahead and say that Mandie has like the coolest Instagram handle I've ever seen.
She does.
Mandolph the Great. Since I saw that, I think I saw it last November, and it just like lodged into my brain.
Yeah,
it's obviously
a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to say.
Did it take you a while to come up with?
I didn't. I actually, a friend of mine, when I was like 19, I was hanging out with these peeps, and somebody called me that. I think the movies must have been coming out. I can't recall the timeline. And it just stuck. It's a great name. It really rolls off the tongue. And
it's genius.
Yeah. People just call me Mandolph in life. I'm like, thank you.
I'll claim that. Yeah.
It is really, and talk about unique. It's so cool. All right, well, as long as I threw that out, Samantha, you want to name your handle as long as we...
Well, now that we're doing this, just boring old Samantha Jean _89.
Samantha _89.
Yeah.
Funny, I never share mine, but I was bused to an all Latin American school for 5th and 6th grade, and my name, Jeff, everyone pronounced it Jefe. So my handle is Jefe111 because, and then my best friend who was from India, he still called me Jefe. Everyone called me Jefe, so
nice.
So it's funny. I just like Mandolph.
Yeah.
It was thrust upon me,
it has
and
to be
I
given
accepted
to you.
it.
Yes.
And I accepted. Yeah, nice. It's a bounce.
I've been honoured, both of you.
We'll have to.
Yeah,
and I'm
you'll
not even
find
a
something.
nickname person. It's funny.
No, neither.
Yeah. They
All
get
right.
given to you.
So on this podcast, we get to the nitty gritty. You made this really impressive film, smart, funny, touching, covers all the bases. So the question is, what got you to the point that you had all these skills to be such successful creatives? So who wants to go first with your story? How you can each say, were you theater kids?
Oh, yeah.
Film nerds? Go for it.
Okay. For me, let's see. I think I just really grew up in front of the TV, and that was a way to watch adventures and escape and all of that. And then I remember being in 1st grade in school, and we were putting on a play, and the teacher asked, "Who wants a line?" And I was like, "I do," even though I was so painfully shy as a kid. And so in my first school play, played a tiger, and I had a line, and nothing was like it. And I was like, I gotta perform more. So I asked my mom, or I just let her know about that. And then when I was in 2nd grade, she went through the Yellow Pages, got me an agent and headshot. So I was working commercially in Minnesota for a very long time. And then did some theater, did school theater, community theater growing up. And then I just knew I wanted to move out to California eventually. And especially with the weather, that was a big contender. Yeah.
Yeah, Minnesota's rough weather-wise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
It's so
I
rough.
love it. But man, December through March, I'm all set. I'm good. I've had my fill.
So that was really speedy, though. So
Oh, yes.
is there any, like, high school theater and then college before you came out here? Or?
There was high school theater. I think, so my high school was 10th through 12th grade. I think I did 13 plays within those 3 years.
Wow, that's a lot.
It is. Yeah, we would have a spring musical, a non-musical play, and then a fall musical as well. And then I would do community theater. I did a play through 20% Theater Company and Moo Performing Arts when I was 19 in Minneapolis. And then I decided not to go to college and just save up for the move. And that was a hard decision at the time because I graduated high school in 2005. And especially more so at that time, it was go to college. That's the thing you do. And I felt like the black sheep of my family. My dad, him being the Asian one, was very like, go to school and I was like, no, blah, anarchy. Yeah. So I just decided not to and waitressed and saved up to move out here. And then that was a whole other pool to dive into once getting here.
Which is really impressive. I mean, at that age to know.
Yeah.
And to follow it and be so true to it.
Yeah. I just really felt that. I felt from a young age, if something was fundamentally didn't sit with me personally, not that I think college is great and you need it for a lot of things. But, I just couldn't, once I was done with school, I was like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to go back. It doesn't fit for me. And, just if something doesn't work for me, I can't do it. I just can't muster it.
Excellent. Well, maybe coming to LA is a nice breaking point. So we can start with Samantha because you, Minneapolis and
Australia. Yeah. I was all over the place actually as a kid. I had always been in the arts. My mom started me in dancing and physical culture, gymnastics, and then I got into the local musical theatre communities, and then I got into the high school theatre communities and still dancing. So I always thought in the back of my mind I would do more musical theatre, which is kind of what led me to my degree in the end. But I did a stint on cruise ships and I was like, thought I was going to be dancing. And then I ended up being like the entertainment host. So I would introduce all like the main shows and host bingo and host all the events and got kind of my public speaking up, I guess. And then came back, ended up in full-time dance school. And then I was like, I don't want to do this either. And then I ended up in musical theatre at college in Singapore. I had luckily won the scholarship so we could afford to, move up there. My family stayed in Australia, but I moved. And then I realized I didn't want to do musical theatre long-term either, which it's a love, it's a passion, but it's not how I saw my long-term future. And so once I graduated, I guess I auditioned for a stand-in role for an American movie that was filming in Indonesia. And they ended up calling me back and they were saying, you're a little too tall for the actual lead girl, but do you want to come in and audition for an actual supporting role? And I was like, well, yeah, yes. I've never been on film before, but yeah, let's do this. Sent in a tape that I had my mum film in Australia and then booked the part. So I flew back to Indonesia, filmed, and then I thought that was it for the week. And then they called me back 3 times to America to do pickup scenes. So my full scene started growing. And then I was like, wait, I'm exactly where I want to be. LA was always a long-term dream. So how do I make this happen? And thankfully, because I'd met that production company and I met a few people along the way, I ended up here. And so that's, my weird story.
That's a great way to come here. I mean, Mandie did the pure courage version.
Yes.
But talk about a cool situation of actually being pulled here by a production.
Yeah, I was very fortunate. I had no idea I didn't even know what to do after college. And I was like, well, if I'm not going to New York and I'm not going to London and I'm not doing musical theatre, like I have to start auditioning and figure that out. So
yeah, New York and London. I've talked to quite a few filmmakers now, like 5 or 6, who started with dance, and that often does lead to musical theater, but I guess it is the performance of dance really does lend itself to acting, even though people would assume not.
Oh, it really does.
Dance is really way more.
It gets you in your body,
and it's more mental than physical, right?
Yeah, a lot of muscle memory, but it also gives you freedom on stage. And I think having my theatre degree, which I won't diss, it was worth it at the time, I guess, even though I don't technically use it. But I've taken so many skills from that because of dance, acting, and singing training, and then being in front of audiences of thousands. And then it's like, okay, now I understand what to do with my body.
That's a big thing, is being used to being stared at by strangers, I guess.
Yes.
They're both nodding, a lot of nodding. All right, so you both land in LA, and what happens next for each of you? How long till you meet each other?
Oh,
When did we meet each other?
I think we actually met briefly at a party because we have the same mutual friend group. But it wasn't until Other came around that we actually got closer. But I think we had met.
We did,
yeah.
for sure. I think we were in one of their sketches, the letters one.
Oh my gosh, yes.
I was in a sketch group called Woman, and we were the button of this sketch that our friends, they have a production company called The Nights Young, and she was in that sketch. It was the Notebook parody.
We did a take, yeah.
It was hilarious. So I knew who she was for sure, and we had hung out, but then I got a call from Brian, who's in the Nights Young, Brian Flackus, and he was like, Samantha, she wants to enter this film festival that is specifically for Asian and AAPI filmmakers. You're a writer, Mandie. What, do you want to write this thing? And I was coming off the heels of a very traumatic experience. My father had very sudden open heart surgery, so I was driving back cross country during the pandemic, and just not, I was like, yeah, when I get back. And he was like, cool, except it's due in 3 weeks, the finished project. So I was like,
right, not just the script, the whole thing.
The whole entire thing.
So it's almost one of those film chase things.
Yes.
Yeah, I had, I guess, an epiphany moment, and I was thinking about my childhood and my brother and how different we had, the experiences we had. He was bullied a lot in school, and I didn't have that same stuff happen to me, I guess. And so I don't know why it came to me, but it came to me, and then I wanted to talk about that. And we thought about making it about, my brother's experience. And then I was like, wait a second, we have the same experience as well. And so it made sense for us to put ourselves in that and share our story instead.
Yeah.
But I went to Brian from The Nights Young. He went to Mandie because I was like, I'm not a writer yet. I don't know how to approach this. I don't know what to do with this idea. And lucky Mandie had done sketch, and she's very versed in writing, and just... it worked.
It did.
All right, well, then I'm going to ask Mandie to backtrack. So, because you talked about performing and stuff, you didn't talk about writing. So, had you always been a writer?
No. I enjoyed writing, but until my sketch group, I don't think anything that I had written had ever been performed or filmed. I think Other's the first thing that I've written that has been filmed. And completed like that. So it was really exciting. It was also a huge challenge in that,
For a week. She had 1 week.
Yeah.
1 week.
Right, so you said,
no pressure.
We can shoot this thing in 2 weeks if you write it in 1.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Well, we needed it to get into color and sound. So I was like, you technically have 1 week. We have 1 week for pre-production and filming, and then we go into post, and then I need it. And so it was a lot to ask of my friends.
And just in case someone listening doesn't know, the film Other, and you talked about, Samantha talked about herself and her brother, it's about the experience that mixed race people have in generally white cultures, right? Mm-hmm. That's the best way to describe it.
Yes.
And I recall you said at the Q&A at Sherman Oaks Film Festival last year that, your brother... people identify your brother as more Asian, and so that's why his experience was so different than yours.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, we have similar looks, but I have green eyes and he has brown eyes, and he was a little more reserved and I was a little more aggressive, I guess. And it hit him a different way. And I didn't realize, I always kind of knew in the back of my mind what he was going through, and I wanted to stand up for him, but I wasn't ever quite sure, because it's like you're always trying to impress your friends as well, and you're like, I can make a joke about that and it's fine, and you let it go. And then now that we're adults, I had a conversation with him, and he was like, yeah, it changed my life. It really dictated how I felt as who my identity was in this culture, and how we don't know if we're
what
more
is
one
my
or the
identity?
other. Yeah. It's still hard for me to explain. I still don't know how to kind of say that. Yeah, we're mixed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, the way people, I mean, I grew up with friends who were mixed, and my friend would be with his mom at the mall, and people would assume that wasn't his mom. Like that stuff. So common.
I was asked if I was adopted because my mom is blonde and has blue eyes, and I would walk around with her, and people would be like, how do you know each other? I'm like, I came out of her. I don't know how else to put it.
My mom.
and so many people assume the opposite. Yeah.
And that time-old question, where are you from? That's kind of, I guess, how the story kept getting born from. It was just, where are you from? But where are you really from?
Yeah.
No, but you know what I'm asking. We're like, we do, but we're not going to give you the satisfaction of ask it correctly.
Yeah.
In fact, my wife and I discussed that, because I brought up the film to her again with you two coming over. But I was going to say, so when the idea was pitched to you, Mandie, did it just resonate?
Oh yeah, this is one of the most deeply personal things that I've ever been a part of, because I lived that, like what you were saying, you and your brother went through, of like, what is my identity my entire life. I grew up in a suburb of Minnesota, and kids are, mean and joke as it is, but especially at that time, there's free reign to make fun of Asian people. My peers would do it. My friends would do it. I would do it. And it was this line of like, I felt like I had to apologize for being Asian, if that makes sense. And I knew I wasn't white enough, or white, I obviously don't pass as like completely white passing most of the time. And so, at the lunch tables, where do I sit? That whole thing. And so when we were talking on the phone just about this idea, I just wanted to get a feel for what her experience has been, how she thinks she might be treated differently as somebody who's a mixed race person of color. And we had, even growing up on different continents, such similar stories, and they're these microaggressions or these things that seem harmless, like the question, where are you from? But to a person of color, I think anything like that you ask somebody, are you going to ask that to a white person? And I'll return the question. If I get asked, where are you from? I'll ask, well, where are you from? And be like, well, from here. I'm like, cool, same. I'm talking about your ancestors. Where are your ancestors from? That's what you're asking me. That's what, and I feel like.
And they're not from here.
Right.
Unless they're indigenous,
exactly.
which there's not. Yeah, white people are not indigenous here, so where are you from?
Exactly.
Are you from Denmark?
Exactly.
England? Germany? Yeah.
It's interesting as well, because like I had more conversations with my parents about this after this film came out, because even they were like, well, in our minds, you're Australian, and that's just what you were, and you're also just our daughter, and so we didn't see you as either or, you're just Samantha. And I was like, but Mum, when she saw what we meant about ticking other as the ethnicity, and she's like, it didn't even cross my mind that this is what you go through. And same for my dad. He was like, you're born in Australia, you're Australian, that's your identity, that's your nationality, embrace it. Obviously he's like, I'm Chinese, but I choose to live here, so this is what our family is. And I was like, that's all well and good, but it doesn't answer like some of the fundamental questions of when you can't identify with social groups or networks. It's just, you're still finding your spot in there.
And it doesn't acknowledge, I also kind of want to address what Mandie said, because when you talked about passing, what a painful idea that passing, like, you know what I mean? Like, I totally understand what you're saying, but a lot of kids, look, so I'm a Jewish minority, so I don't fit in with everybody, and I'm also atheist, but yeah, I was able to. It was always shocking for me when I would get called out as non-white by racist type people, and because like I could pass most of the time,
Mostly, yeah.
and then every once in a while you'd be like, well, you're not really white because you don't believe, because there's those people that just kind of believe there's a white Christian ethno state, and if you're not white Christian, you don't belong here.
Yeah,
and we all grew up with a melting pot myth,
right?
So the idea that as a kid you felt like, how do I pass in this society? Who do I sit with? I hate that that's a reality.
My first experience of it, I think I was about 10 years old, and we had a piano at my home, and a tuner came over, this white man, and he was like, oh, okay, so are you something? I was like, yeah, my dad's Chinese. And he was like, if it weren't for the last name, I wouldn't even know that you were Asian. And he said it to me in this way that was like, you're good, you can pass. And I'm a kid, I'm 10, so I was like, yay, good for me, I can maybe pass. I think we both have a very ethnically ambiguous face, which people are like, ooh, there's a dash of something, and then they have to figure out what that thing is for their own, I don't know what.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, you wish it would, yeah.
Their own need to put you in a box or define you, or, and so.
I mean, there's an element of supremacy to it, too,
totally.
I think.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's taught as well, so that's what they know.
Absolutely. It's very taught.
Passed down.
Very taught, yes.
And it seems natural because they're like, oh, I'm not trying to be offensive. And you're like, yes.
Well, not trying is one thing, but then when you hear the information, take a beat. Take it in
and consider.
And think about it. Think about that.
Yeah, I mean, I know we use the term microaggression at the Q&A at the festival, and none of the people in the film that your characters interact with learn from it. You know what I mean? Like I noticed the fact that they could easily have read your reactions to their microaggressions and said, "Oh shit, I am kind of being rude and or just a complete asshole." But instead,
It's interesting as well. When I lived in Singapore, I had, I guess, the opposite in terms of culture. It is quite a melting pot there, but when I would try and do auditions for theatre there, I was never accepted in theatre companies. They're like, you don't look Asian, you don't look Chinese, you don't look anything like that. Wow. They'd be like, Ang Mo, which is like kind of a slang word for white. And then I would have the same in Australia, and I would be like, you don't pass as white and you don't really pass as Asian. We don't really know what to do with you. And this is why I now have my middle name, Samantha Jean, as my, I guess, professional stage name, because I was Samantha Jean Kwok for the longest time. People were scared to pronounce it. People didn't know how to place me because they'd bring me in and be like, oh, Kwok, so she must be Chinese. Can you speak Mandarin or Cantonese? Never could, and it would just baffle their minds.
That would happen to me so much. I also dropped my last name for a few years, and my middle name's also Jean, so that would have been hilarious.
Oh my gosh.
I was going by Amanda Jean and Samantha Jean.
Wow.
Hilarious. But I put it back because I was like...
I mean, there's still time for me to change, I guess.
To each their own.
I don't know.
You do you, but...
But that's a reality of the industry, is that if they look at the resume, if they look at your name, they'll only want to cast you for roles that they won't cast you because they already have a preconception of that character.
Yeah. Or they're, trying to protect audiences and be like, this is what they will know. And it's like, so you're trying to double answer this for us. Like, it's not what you see, it's also how you think it'll sell. So
rock hard place.
Yeah.
Particularly in this industry, probably more than most.
Yeah, I guess.
Although I guess it's terrible everywhere, but...
Yeah.
It's like, it's just that exact thing. People don't know what to do with us, and I felt like anytime I'd go in the room for an Asian role or asking for Asian people, they were disappointed I didn't speak Chinese. My dad speaks Cantonese, which is also, well, our dads speak Cantonese, which is also, he calls it a dying language. So they want Mandarin, and I don't. They look disappointed, but I'm not. There weren't a lot of lead, young female roles for ethnically ambiguous at the time.
And then it became a weird trend, which they were like,
then it was a fad.
Ambiguous. Yeah, this is awesome, but they still can't.
They still
literally
can't do
cast
it.
you.
Or the roles that you do get, they have to justify why you are biracial.
Yeah.
I see it in other films, in scripts that I've read, where they're like, oh, okay, so your dad's probably a GI, or let's explain how these two different races possibly made it. Yeah. And I think that's something that I'm excited that I'm seeing more of is just being able, people like us, to just be a character in a story.
Yeah.
And that's that.
We are heading towards it.
Yeah. We're getting.
Yeah.
But Lord knows it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
when you watch, it's still highlighted all the time. Just the fact that Hollywood studios make a big deal when they do cast someone that you don't expect. They're like, look what we did. If it wasn't a big, obviously there's a problem if it's a big deal that one lead in one Marvel movie isn't. I almost used a rude term for white, but I'll just say white.
We've got a white person between us.
It's true. It's true.
But make one another.
But it's funny, right? Oh, it's not funny, but yeah.
But it's interesting, and I don't know. It's something.
It is. I feel like we want to say, obviously, everyone should be open to talk about this, and it's not like you're wrong and you're being rude, and it's not like trying to put on people. It is an open conversation, and that's the point of it.
It should be.
Yeah,
it should be.
Like it's not necessarily a bad thing to ask me where I'm from or what my heritage is, but it's just sometimes pushed in an ignorant way where you're like, you need to go back and think what you're actually asking. Yeah.
And I think too, it's like death by 1,000 paper cuts. It may seem harmless this one time, but I think people don't realize what, especially ethnically ambiguous and people of color get all the time. And it's just like, it makes you feel other. It makes you feel on display in this way, or like I'm in a zoo where they're like, ooh, what is this? Ooh, interesting. And it's not only you're just focusing on something that I don't choose that has nothing to do with me. You know, a lot of the time that'll be, we've both bartended and worked in restaurants a long time, and one of the main, before anybody asks my name, they ask me where I'm from. Like,
and it's always, like you said, it's always where you're from, not what's your heritage or where'd your family come
I'm
from.
from Minnesota, and they do not like that answer. 'Cause how?
Yeah.
What? And
it happened the other night. I had a guy come in to my bar, and he opened with, "What color is your eyes?" And I said, "Green." And he said, "They look yellow to me." And he said, "Interesting. So where are you from?" And I said, "Australia." And he goes, "Huh, you don't look like you're from there." And I was like, what do Australians look like? And then I just turned back on him and said, "Where are you from?" And so that's...
And what did he say?
It is still confronting, though, because I was like, I'm still going through this, and I'm still put on the spot every time someone says that. But
He
I'm like,
clearly didn't see our film.
no, but... no, he didn't. Yeah, and the irony is that he was sitting, his date that night was this beautiful Chinese lady, and she just looked at him and went, "Why do you need to know her eye color to know where she's from?" And I was like, oh, okay. So she gets it. Yeah.
Yeah, because a person who it doesn't isn't soaked with white privilege understands, well, I mean, in this country, and I guess probably around the world, people throw around the word Asian. Mm-hmm. But
broad.
Asia is pretty fucking broad. And I mean, because of my age, I'm the age, so I grew up in a multicultural part of LA, but a lot of my friends were, Korean and Japanese, and like, I almost felt weird because I could tell Korean from Japanese in a way. And so when people would and everyone would assume back then everyone assumed everyone was Japanese. There wasn't much China immigration yet, I guess. Yeah. So my Korean friends got called Japanese all the time and got the sushi comments all the time. And and it was like, what, you can't tell Korean from Japanese? Like, what's wrong with you? But now I think about it, I'm like, it's kind of weird that they're put under the same term. And by the way, I would have to have a Korean filmmaker in here and a Japanese filmmaker to talk about the fact that those two cultures have been at war forever,
right? And
hate the shit out of each other, and then they come to LA and get mistaken for each other. It's like, God, why don't you just confuse Israelis and Palestinians?
Right? It's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't mean to do that tangent about.
That got my mind whirling.
Me too. I was like,
this thing just got enraged and went.
Well, because the pan Asian, just like pan European, just general
Asian,
whiteness, come on, Italians consider themselves Italian, and the Irish feel they're Irish, and they're the people do have identities that go beyond these blanket terms.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. My dad said when he moved here, he moved here from Hong Kong, and he was working in a hotel, and he's like, the amount of times people told me to go back to Japan, he's like, I've never been to Japan. I go back. You go back to Britain then. Yeah. I mean, what do you want? I don't know.
I don't even know what that means.
Oh, God, the go back.
I don't know what it means.
Yeah.
The go back thing is, that's just straight up. You might as well wear a white robe and a hood, right?
Get your fucking hood then.
Yeah.
And it's just so wah, I want mine, and it's like all of that. That's a very simplified. But you know what I mean?
It's covered
just
in fear as well.
It's absolute
I don't know what
fear.
from.
It's absolute fear.
Yeah.
I think just deep insecurity of feeling like I think we all live. Or society pushes this thing of I can only have mine if I put you down. I have, and I don't believe that. I believe in community. I think that we are all stronger together, and that community can be your town, country, what have you.
And embrace,
Yeah, but it's very easy to identify okay, well, you're my crew, but they look different. So fuck those guys. Let's enslave them, and
I mean, they even put it in high school movies. All the different cliques. It's like, yeah, we're still labeling, even if it's not necessarily about race. It's, it's what we do.
Good stuff.
It's what we do, and you may when you said they haven't seen our film, obviously, the guy who spoke to you at the bar. Yeah, God, I wish we could run a market test and see. If you could bring some people in, show them the film, and then have them come into the bar.
I've had some people say our film's quite aggressive, which I was like, oh, really? That's interesting. I mean, I guess, physically we, showed a few manifestations of what we felt like in terms of physical nature, if you watch it eventually. But I was like, oh, I didn't think we hit it that hard with how we could have
no, in fact, I was going to say that I think the reason why it's such a successful film is because it's subtle. Even though for the trailer for season 6, the head smash.
There might be some violence.
That was
a little bit,
but that was a great moment, I think, to grab when you only had grab 2.5 seconds.
That's years of.
But the fact and obviously and you wrote it with such depth within a week. Holy shit.
It was actually, I would love to say this and brag of myself, in 3 days, because Chad on Friday, he was like, can you actually get us a first draft on Sunday night? I was like, yeah, sure.
We were on Zoom because she's still driving back, and we were just hashing it out. We're okay, how do you feel about this? How do you feel about this? How do we bring this together? And
but then we worked on it that week and change it. But and what you were saying about it being subtle, I think that's something that I really wanted to, because we talked about a lot of different ideas and kind of changing it in certain ways during that week of editing and the script. And I just really wanted to hit that thing of no, this is my day-to-day life. This is what we go through.
Let's be truthful to that.
And
because we did discuss taking out a few lines and a few actions in there that we were like, is this going to resonate with anyone else? Because this is very personal to how we were treated. And the Night's Young guys, they were like, do you. This is your story, and it's okay if it's going to be aggressive for some and not enough for others. And so,
Yeah, I've gotten that feedback, people watching it, or even I think while we were filming, I feel like all the white people in the room
the entire room
I'm
was
so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I'm like, really? I'm not, because this has been said to us our whole fucking lives.
Yeah.
So that also was a thing, even while making this, that they were like, oh my
dynamic.
God, I can't believe someone would say this to you. I'm like, really? Because we hear it all the time.
But they're just not tuned in to what, because it doesn't affect them. So they're just,
it doesn't happen
they've
to
heard
them.
it.
It doesn't happen to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to criticize anyone I've never met who is probably a good friend of yours if they were on the set.
Yes, very good friend.
But people will tend to virtual signal, right, and say, I would never say anything like this. But there's probably moments that we've all fucked up.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that's a big thing of it is especially what's happened in the past couple of years with Black Lives Matter and all of these amazing conversations that we're now pushing and getting to be louder and everything, which is amazing. I think that people are scared to have a conversation about it. They don't want to feel wrong. I've had very good friends of mine who I called out, which was hard for me because I feel like, I don't know what it was like for you, if anyone would, if they make fun of you and you're like, hey, that offends me, they call you too sensitive. That's something that I've been told as an Asian person. You're too sensitive. Lighten up. It's not that big of a deal. Get over it.
Yeah, I was just joking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Leave me my privilege.
Yes.
Yes, we're not trying to offend you personally. And it's like, well, you are now.
Yeah. And so just, I don't know, to hear that, then if I do, I stood up to a friend. I was like, you know what? I just really don't appreciate that joke, and here's why. And I mean, they got so defensive and yelled at me and was like, I'm not racist. I didn't say that you were. Don't put words into my mouth. I'm having a conversation because you're my friend, and I wanted to let you know my boundary, what's not okay with me. And, I think that's also a tough thing to navigate for a lot of people.
Yeah, because sometimes, it feels like guilt on my end sometimes when I allow those things to be said. And then I think that's why it stemmed to my brother. And they're like, well, she can handle it, but he can't. Like, it's like allowing this to keep going on and they don't learn from it or have an open conversation about it, then it might not just be affecting me. It's affecting someone else that's not okay with it because I allowed that to be okay in my world. Yeah. And so that's the tough part.
It's a tough thing. Yeah, it's a very tough thing to carry.
Because I can't speak for you directly. I think we have a lot of similarities, but like your sensitivities might be slightly different to mine, and that's great. But we talk about that.
Right.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, and in a moment, there can be a moment where, something would strike you, something someone say about another culture would strike you. I'm not in the mood for that. I'm going to stand up for that other culture right now and say, what you just said kind of sucks. And I was just going to add that and then other times you're like not in the mood and you let it go.
Absolutely.
But I was going to add the thing that white people right now, and that's like a weird thing to say, but the Fox Newsy types are saying like, we're not allowed to say this, and it's like, you're allowed to say it, and the rest of us are allowed to judge you for it. Absolutely. And say, you know what, I'm not going to be friends with you if you're going to say something that I find, and it's funny because when you said your friend said, you're calling me racist, and like, or I'm not, no one's ever said I'm not racist without being a little racist.
Right.
I mean, it's just like the biggest tell.
You need to
Isn't that like the number one tell?
You might need to look inward and,
Yeah. I mean, isn't that the point of freedom of speech? If you're allowed to say something, we can say how we feel back too.
Yeah.
Right. So. Well, and it's just so whiny. It's like I found that as well with especially when Me Too was happening, that a lot of my male stand-up comic friends or acquaintances were, I don't know what to say anymore. Nothing's funny. Can't make fun of women. I'm like, why don't you just get funnier and write better jokes then? We all, if you go back and you watch certain films that you loved in, the 90s, they don't entirely hold up. And I appreciate them for what they were at the time. I understand that everything kind of changes society and all that. But it's like, we just evolve and grow better. I think human beings are more resilient than they think they are. So I just I don't accept it when somebody's just like, well, I can't make this joke.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, then you're not a good comedy writer.
Evolve. Evolve. Good grief.
Yeah. There's lots of ways to be, and there's lots of ways to be funny about gender without being offensive.
Yeah.
Or sexist.
Right. Yeah. When it's like, when that is the butt of the joke, like absolutely putting somebody down. It's like, I know it's a especially with stand-up comedy, I know that it's a whole thing and an art and all of that, and I so respect that. But just in general, I had a lot of friends who would argue with me about it. I was like, okay.
Yeah, no, I think, and it's not just because you're in this room, like you're right and they're wrong, because, and by the way,
I got the mic.
Thank you.
And, there's a 14-year-old woman who lives in this house, and she got in trouble for some jokes, but like offensive, you can still be. Offensive humor is not dead.
No, not at all.
You can offend us with toilet humor. You can offend all kinds of stuff. Just don't punch down.
Don't punch down. That's what it is. It's not about, Yeah, it just don't punch down. I think that's the key. And again, having the conversations and knowing like I still might say something, of course, that's like, oh, oops, that wasn't exactly correct, or oh, that did offend you and you let me know. I appreciate that. Thank you. And I'll try and do better. That's all I'm looking for from people.
That's the most simplest thing that I think
like,
we're all asking for. Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I didn't know that offended you.
Noted for next time. Yeah.
Yeah. That's it.
And you are in the unique position of being multiracial and in a society that's supposed to be multiracial. That everyone is obsessed with identity, I guess.
A little bit. I remember there's been a few defining roles in my career that people have weirdly come up and thanked me as like a vessel. They're like, you are the gateway to being what society will probably look like in the future. And it's like, oh, that's a whole nother thing to like unpack. Like I'm holding the weight of this now as well. Like, thank you. But it's like, you know, they're like, oh, it's wonderful that you're ethnically ambiguous and mixed race. And it's like,
you're welcome.
I don't even know what to say to that.
I did it.
Yeah.
It's what do you say?
That's a different pressure.
What do you say to that?
Yeah. And it's like, no, but we want audiences to see this and get used to this. And I'm like, yep.
And what a shitty position to be put in of the fact that your parents united and now all of a sudden you are the future.
The future.
That's how do you address that? Because in theory, everybody is the present.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
There's nothing else but the present. So
nothing else but the present.
I mean, I guess we're breaking down walls, but I don't know how else to like.
Yeah, it's like I'm happy to see that. You know what I mean? That people are excited about it. It's like on that one hand.
Yeah, they identify with seeing themselves on TV or film now.
Yeah,
you know,
and like that's getting more and more. That's getting better, but to put it like that, like for the future.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's.
What do you want me to do?
In other words,
doing what I'm doing.
Turning back to the film, there's like a million things you didn't have time to put in that movie.
Oh my gosh, no. We could probably write a
list
feature.
goes on.
And what I wanted to mention when we're talking about the movie was that I wanted to praise the other part of it and praise how within less than a week, you wrote this touching story about the sisters, because the sister relationship is a reason why it's subtle, because that relationship is so well portrayed and so authentic, and you know the difficulty of two sisters dealing with loss and then having to run a business together is just very touching. And that's, you know, I think that's what adds to the subtlety of it, is that the relationship is also front and center.
Yeah.
And we talked a lot about coming to the point of the story at different angles for the two sisters, because Mandie's character had a lot more to say up front, whereas I allowed a lot more things to slip until I saw her point of view, which is kind of, I don't want to ruin it too much, the ending of the film, but like, yeah, we talked a lot about how can we make this so that we're at opposite ends trying to understand how the other's dealing. So
yeah, but again, a strength to the film that we're watching, you know, in a short film, we see two paths.
Yeah. And I think that was also important to show, because being, you know, a person of color, it doesn't mean that you all feel the same exact way or can react, you know. I think different people, like my character was very like, you know what, I'm going to say it to your face when something bugs me, whereas her character was more of the part that's like, well, it's fine. I don't want to cause a scene. I don't want to be called too sensitive. Just let it go, because white people rule this world, so I'm going to, you know, I mean, not quite, but like...
And we're running a business. So
and
it's
we're
like,
running a
are you
business.
going to offend your customers?
Right, they're customers. But then it's that line of like, yeah, but how many times...
Yeah, how much is too much?
How much is too much? And then I think watching somebody you love go through something... It's one thing if I can take something, but if it happens to my family or my friends, then I'm going to say something.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so that's something that we really wanted to...
Yeah.
Focus on or hit on. I don't know words anymore.
Yeah, no, and again, I think that's what makes it such a complete film, and shocking that you wrote it so quickly, is that it has all these dimensions, and you didn't even have the luxury of, you know, I assume you shot it rather quickly.
2 days.
Yeah, like 1.5.
1.5.
Yeah, a
We had
day and a
night
half.
shoot
So
and a
it's
day.
not like you went home the first day and said, "Okay, here's what we learned today. We'll do a rewrite."
No.
We all, like, everybody on set
It was
lovely, like the best crew ever. And it was just, everybody had passion and everybody was like, I care about this. I want to make this. And we just were like, this is
so
crazy. Please remind me never to make a film in this short of time.
yeah.
However, let's do this.
Yeah.
Because you were producers and you were both on screen pretty much the whole time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, actually. Wow.
I know. Like, dang, good for us. Nice work.
Yeah.
Seriously. And then you shot for a day and a half and then had to have all the post stuff done by the end of this chase? Or did you do more like after?
No. I mean, from writing it till submitting it, it was 3 weeks.
Yeah. Once we were done shooting, the boys took the hard drive. My husband, who did sound on it, he got it straight away, and then the colorist got it as well. Our director edited it, so once he was locked, it was fine. And then the music kind of got iffy, and which is why I'm listed as composer on
That's right, and you perform.
Yeah, well, she sang the final song, which was wonderful, Mandie, and I had to fill in the piano in between because what we had did not fit the style, and so. Pretty much the final mix, they were like, Sam, can you do anything? And I was like, yep.
We went over, they were watching it on screen and rolling, and she just was plunking out these beautiful notes, and then just...
With the director being like,
so you played
composer?
live to it.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we literally did not have time. It was
like good old-fashioned silent movies.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a hell of a skill.
Yeah.
Well, it's one I didn't know I had. I had done piano, because of musical theater, and I had learned a few lessons when I was a kid, but I would not call myself a musician or a composer, so it was just something I had to figure out.
Yeah, now you have yet another label you must carry.
We'll just white that out. Yeah.
And by the way, looks fantastic. I know we were emailing about, but yeah, the color is. I love the color in the film actually.
Bold
So
choices.
yeah,
it's quite dark.
but it also feels like a bar.
Yes,
like often bars in movies look like sets.
Yeah. I cannot believe what she pulled to get that bar. Just thank you.
Yes, slept with a lot of people. No, I'm just kidding. I've worked for the company Barney's Beanery for 11 years now, and my manager has always been such a champion of mine with creative projects. And so he let us film in the basement of one of the Barney's Beanery locations. So we didn't have to do a lot of set decoration. We did in the office a little bit, but otherwise we have everything right there. And the staff that day was really awesome with us. And so we just got to be there. And that's also something that was so personal to me, too, because it's like all of my worlds just combining, and it just... It
just worked.
It worked. Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, for those who aren't in the LA area, Barney's Beanery is kind of like an institution.
It is.
Right?
They call it that. No, some people call them.
Because there's the original in West Hollywood.
That's where I work now.
Oh, you're at the West Hollywood. Because I know, there's still one in Santa Monica? Probably.
There is.
Yeah.
We use the Pasadena one.
Oh, Pasadena. I see. I don't even get out there anymore. I didn't know there was one there.
Like a party room thing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's funny. I didn't even recognize it. That just shows how long it's been since I've been near a bar. But
when you have the best,
almost no budget, and you can pull favors like that, it's a win.
Yeah.
So
I'm very grateful for that. That was really cool.
So does that mean you had to shoot like in the middle of the night when they were closed?
No, we did during the day because
we did was 9 to 9, right? We were out.
That sounds right. And and then our cleanup and everything.
Right, because they don't open till maybe lunch or something, or
they opened upstairs
10. So
a little earlier. Yeah.
Yeah, they were open upstairs, and we did have to ask if the music could be turned off, but otherwise we couldn't really hear footsteps or anything. So it worked out. It
wasn't too bad.
Perfectly. It was great.
Yeah.
And then just cleaned up at the end of the night, and
we didn't really have to bring much.
We didn't.
Just the red envelopes and. I don't know, the photos of our real families.
Yeah.
That's right. That was sweet too. Yeah. The father is very cool.
I was like, that's Dad.
That always makes me tear up.
It does. That's an emotional moment.
Yeah.
See, this film hits all the beats,
Yeah.
including the laughs. I mean, obviously, I don't know if we have mentioned how funny it is. But as you mentioned, you had sketch experience and probably improv, and so it is actually very funny.
Nice, thank you.
Yeah. I have zero experience in that world, and that's all your experience.
Followed
your lead.
No, I've seen you in sketches, girl. You've acted in those. But I think that's important, and not only balancing a story or a film out, but like that is life, right? You're going through something traumatic or hard, and we make a joke, it relieves pressure, or it's just true to life.
Yeah.
Or I don't know, or true to me anyway.
Yeah, no, all dramas should have a little bit of some comedic moments, and all comedies have their dramatic moments. I mean, it's not an all or nothing.
No.
Yeah, I think it makes it more full-bodied and well-rounded that way. Otherwise, you're just getting slapped with this two-dimensional thing, which, like, maybe the jokes are good, but if you don't have a really good performance or something very real grounded in that, then...
What's the point?
Yeah. It just doesn't quite land like that.
For sure. Cool. So then, and then you finished this film together, and were there high fives all around? Did it feel... Did you know you had something great?
I was nervous. I was
nervous.
Yeah. It was great seeing the final mix, and we were like, holy moly, we have a film. Like, we did this. So definitely a proud moment, but I was really nervous how it would be received. And it actually didn't get into the festival that gave us that deadline.
Nope.
So
we got
into many others,
thing,
but
and it didn't get into that.
Wow, I didn't even know that was a thing. I thought, like, when you got in these chases, you were just in.
No, she came and was like, I want this festival that I heard of. We got to do this, and we didn't make it in. All good, but that deadline
a lot of others,
got us.
Got us moving. So it's kind of a blessing. Yeah.
And I guess I'll bring up the COVID word. You shot it all before lockdown, or during?
Well, it was
what March 2021.
So we weren't in the height of 2020.
So it wasn't like so quarantine.
We definitely
the bar was
followed.
Open, but we would have masks on when you're not on camera, of course, and
we had to test
and
and follow the SAG rules.
I guess I made the assumption it was before because you talked about your run being so virtual.
Yeah.
No, everything
was still.
Yeah, it was submitted. Everything was submitted once it was done, and that's all we got. You were the first to let us come in person.
Yeah, we were so
Sherman Oaks Film Festival was a great. It was great to have the LA premiere.
Yes.
Great for us too.
In the theater.
Get our friends there to see it. Yeah. So that was the first.
Yeah, and you happen to be locals, which is so cool.
Yeah. That was such a great festival too. I felt like all those films, like you said, were just so well-rounded and
it was a great
different.
program.
That was
the night.
Great. Yeah, that was a really great program.
We're pretty proud of that. We have a philosophy. We only show good movies.
I like it.
I don't know why. I don't know why. Like you. This is me throwing shade, obviously, but like I'll go to other festivals, like I'll see stuff that we did not accept because it truly is subpar, and I'm like, so what the fuck is going on?
Yeah,
like I don't quite get it.
I guess to some it might be a numbers game, but really you're trying to get in because you're proud of your work and you're showcasing.
Right.
And you're showing something.
And your
solid.
film is good. Yeah. And if your film is in a block of shorts with stuff that you don't respect,
it's not
can
comparable.
Make you feel like, maybe mine wasn't what I thought it was.
Yeah, maybe I should remove those laurels or something because it's the weirdest thing. And I say that as like a million years ago when I was at festivals with work, and then I would see a bunch of horrible stuff. I'd be like, what am I doing here if they don't have any taste?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. What are we doing here?
And then when you announce a winner or something and you're like, that's what you're comparing this brilliant film to this other type of film?
It's so all over that it's not, and I will say, like, of course I commend anybody who makes anything because it's so hard to get things made, of course. But yeah, it's like going there and seeing.
There's so many. I will say this, and I know it always sounds I've met many a filmmaker who say, like, I don't believe it when a festival says, we loved your film, but we don't have room for it. But the truth is there's so much great work. A lot of people do a lot of great work. And
I got a lot of those emails too.
And that's why, and that's why, you know, we feel kind of privileged to be able to like raise the bar a little bit every year because we ranked in the top 100, so we get a lot of people submit for that reason. And it's like I love the fact that I can like look someone in the eye and say, you're not going to see a bad movie. Like if you'd come to all 8 days of the Sherman Oaks Film Festival, we're going back to 6, but that was like the post-COVID bulge. And by the way, totally. I mean, it sucks to be there like every day for 8 days, but my life is so hard. No, but
just get to watch art.
That's just silly. So silly.
Art,
I love it. I love it.
Like anything with you hit it too hard.
I just need like a drug habit where I don't need sleep. But
I can.
we can all. I use drugs to sleep.
It's a balance.
That's adulting.
But anyway, it was. I guess it's all about. I'm just saying, your film is one of the reasons why the festival was great.
Thank you.
And it's glad to see get recognized. And did you get to see it out of town at all, or how was your run? Was fun?
Virtually, I saw it a few times because they would do some interviews. Other than that, no, it was just like send it off, and then suddenly you get an email saying you won this section, and I had no information of when it was showing. It was weird. Like these were like, you know, Milan or Paris, or we did send it a few across the world, and there was some in Sydney and some in Singapore. But even the San Diego ones, there were no details of how to log in and watch. So it was like, who's seeing these? These are, okay, this is cool, but like, I'm not sure how to promote this. Yeah. So, and then you just get an email being like, this section, you've been voted for this, or you didn't get this, or whatever. And it was,
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So it's like, sorry I missed that.
It already happened. Okay.
I wasn't aware.
Yeah. So yours was very
That is anticlimactic for sure. My God. Hey, congrats, you won something.
Oh, yeah.
We just didn't want you to know about it in advance for you to actually enjoy the experience.
Yeah. We even won one, I think it was in London somewhere, and I got an email saying you won, and then no laurel, no award, no, I don't know.
How do I brag about this?
I don't know.
If I don't have a laurel.
Yeah, it's like your name is just kind of listed somewhere on a website, and you got to scroll through like so much to find things. So it's been an experience, the festival run.
Yeah. You really handled all that. She's a mouse.
Well, you make me extra happy that you had a good experience at the festival I'm involved in. Very nice.
It
Makes
was
me feel
fantastic.
good. And then I send you an email that says, by the way, you want to be in a TV series?
We were like, what? Yeah.
Say what?
Please, what? Yes.
Yes.
Which, of course, no one has heard of before they join before they come to the festival.
They're about to hear about it.
On our Instagrams and everything. Yeah.
That'll be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I certainly appreciate you sharing. Yeah, you're already sharing.
Yeah. I was like, is this too early? Nah, we'll get momentum going.
No, no such thing as too early.
It's going to happen again.
Yeah. I was like, we'll do one now. Yeah. And then when it gets closer, I'll just really
back it up.
Push.
Actually, a filmmaker I think his film is in season 2, and he works in marketing it used to be DVD marketing. Now it's streaming marketing. And he's like, every message has to be seen 7 times before someone acts on it. And I'm like, you're telling me I have to like post the same trailer on Instagram 7 times for people to actually like click?
Huh.
I don't think I have that in me. I feel spammy.
Yeah, people are like, I follow you or something.
You're
like, no way.
It doesn't feel good coming out of me. But however, it's like, I see that. It's like, especially with how we are now, I feel my attention span is shorter. I'm looking at stuff. So if it doesn't catch you, even some of my friends were all like, I didn't really read your thing, honey. I liked the photo, so if there's information about something, we're missing that. So that's a fair point.
It's tricky.
Social media.
You can do a film. The next thing you write should be about social media and something else.
Yeah.
And how your brain cannot handle it.
It's crazy. It's so wild, and especially I feel like being of our kind of generations that like we knew the world before the internet and before cell phones and all that, and now
the obsession,
they're attached to our hands.
How do we live without them?
It's pretty, it's tough.
Yeah.
Well, so I brought up the silly thing of are you working on new stuff? Are you planning to collaborate again?
I would love
Yes.
to. We talked about a sci-fi, so that might be in the works. We're definitely interested in that genre.
Yeah.
Yes, I have one thing coming up with The Night's Young again, which we're in post. We're hoping to get it done actually by this weekend. Fingers crossed. You know how post goes. But it's called Vesper, and I'm hoping to start submitting the moment I get it.
Oh, very cool.
So,
and
yeah.
do you want to? So you mentioned The Night's Young. That's the group of people you did the film chase with.
Yeah, they're.
But like, is there something you want to tell them? Like, give them a little love. Like, what
Yeah.
Is it just a group of friends? Is it a organized production company kind of thing?
Two guys. They've been friends forever. Started a production company, Chad and Brian.
Chadwick Hobson and Brian Flackus.
Thank you. And they really just make films that they're passionate about, and their motto is kind of "You'll never walk alone." So whatever fits into that world and genre kind of brings us all together. So they were like literally our lifeline. Without them, I don't know how we would have got this off the ground. Their connections are faithful and amazing, and just donated time. But everyone wants to work with these boys. They're just kindest, smartest, most intelligent.
Yeah, and they
humans.
really, I respect them so much just as people and like some of my closest friends, but also that they love to uplift other voices, people of color, women, and just, the underdog. They're not afraid to try, and they just make beautiful, beautiful films, and they're just a deep well of ideas and projects.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you to them.
In my brain, I'm putting a K in front of night, but is it just N?
No, it's okay.
It's okay.
Like
Okay.
the night, like their nights.
It felt like it had a double entendre of sorts, right? So,
TKY.
TKY.
Yeah.
well, good for them that they're being virtuous or whatever the term. What do you call a knight? Gallant.
Gallant.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Quixotic? I don't know.
They are.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
Yes.
And speaking of them, I also have a feature that we are in post for called Scream Therapy.
It is hilarious.
It's hilarious. It's a horror comedy about 5 women who go out to the desert to do scream therapy and kind of bump into a cult of incels. And some people are on acid, and that's all I'm going to say.
It's amusing.
It's
what to do with that.
I think the cocktail of horror and comedy is the best thing in the world, and because jump scare, being scared is a uncontrollable. It's just a natural response, and laughter is an uncontrolled response. So you watch a horror comedy, and it's just so therapeutic. Because you just get to like release these things that are trapped inside us.
This one has it all,
and it's female driven. So
the director and writer Cassie Keat she's in Woe Manor sketch group and a good friend of mine, and we had been talking about that idea. She had that for the film, and so that was also her directorial debut of a feature. We also have a short film called He Knows, which is a thriller horror that we are just it got into Telluride, the horror fest out there, and so we're submitting that to festivals currently as well.
Very cool. Very cool. So you're staying very productive.
We'll try.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't wait, can you?
Yeah.
What else?
You gotta do it. You can't just wait around.
Yeah.
They don't
creativity gotta go somewhere.
Yeah.
No, I mean, there's nothing that breaks my heart more, and I hope no one this applies to hears me say this, but when I see a great film and then that person doesn't do anything for like 2-3 years, I'm like, well, you need to. I know it's tough, but
it's a skill you gotta hone. It's
like a muscle.
Joke.
You need to work it out. And it's a hard thing as an actor. It's like the less I audition, the less comfortable I am, and but it's like, especially for actors. Yeah. Well, you can't just go out and audition. I need to get the audition.
Let alone book whatever said audition is.
Yeah. So I think that's something else that I feel like we're both so strong in like I want to make this thing, and I try to surround myself with people like you and people like that can keep that drive and going, because obviously it's hard to do. It's not easy to self-produce, especially, but like
no, and surrendering yourself to certain roles and like allowing other people with expertise to guide you is a huge lesson. To be like, I want to like this, and they're like, this is how we see it, and this is gonna help you, and it's a learning curve, but it's been fantastic.
And the life of a performer and an actor, where especially now in the self-tape era that got enforced, like it's worse than ever, right?
It's horrible.
It's like the only way we really
now
do things.
I think commercials, I've been told, are going to go back to more in
50-50.
person. They're about 50-50 now. I think in the fall a lot of things are going back to in person, but
zero theatrical. I haven't seen it yet, personally. Maybe
like in person?
Yeah.
No, not at all.
I haven't.
Yeah. And I just
but they don't need to, I
find-
don't think. Well, they think.
With theatrical, maybe not. You know, what I find helpful, especially with commercial auditions, is not only the energy of the room and the fact that I'm not setting up the lights and camera and being nervous the whole time I'm doing it, and I'm worried about, okay, am I in frame? Is my light? I have to think about all these things, and then like, okay, go, say the line. And then you're just in a vacuum with yourself, and how easy it is to then question and spiral. And also, then when I go into the room, when there's even if it's just, the casting assistant, they will sometimes have had notes. They're like, the director, actually, people were doing it like this morning. Can you actually not say that and do this? Yeah. I don't get that. I don't know what you want. It's not that I don't think I'm not talented. It's, what do you want? What is the direction? So I won't get a call back because I might have just completely missed it. And that's why it's
a guessing game a little bit, but I guess what they're trying to tell us is learn how to just be confident in yourself, deliver, and then the universe will figure it out.
Yeah.
It strikes me as just cost saving and laziness, though, because, like you said, in the room, acting was never meant to be done alone in a room with a camera. It just wasn't, whether it was in theater or on set, there's always people to read, a room to read. And the idea that they can successfully cast just watching tapes sent from home on smartphones. I mean, come on.
I mean, maybe the first round, but definitely when you're in second and third rounds, like, you better be in person.
Yeah, what about chemistry tests?
Right. Like, I think maybe by then they do it. I've had auditions where we're Zooming with the other actors.
And your eye lines are off, and you're like, I don't know what's happening.
You're not even the eye line, but like, it's going to have a delay, so how do I have comedic timing? And I know we had to do what we had to do, and, getting through all of that, but like, I don't know. It doesn't really work for me.
I guess they see more people. That's like kind of their thing.
They do, but is that helpful or beneficial? And then I've had friends who are booking more through self-tape, so I guess I don't fucking know.
It's definitely an avenue.
Are they the ones who like live with the cinematographer or something?
Perhaps, yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
They have the whole setup, and they're not
even just to find readers. That's stressful.
Yeah.
You're like, is anyone available?
Yeah, like, can you come help me? Do you have a dog I can borrow? And can you bring it here?
I'm relying on you now to be available, so I can get this.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you're both dealing with the life of the actor who has to audition. It's but it's nice that you're able to do produce some things for yourselves as well while you're doing that, because probably a nice balance to.
I think a variety of things like that is key, and
it's always that imposter syndrome, though. It's like when you're trying to get something off the ground again, you're like, God, am I doing the right thing?
Should I do this?
It's like crazy.
I'm a real good waitress, so maybe I'll just do that.
Well, I always say that imposter syndrome is a good sign, because the quality people question it. It's the completely confident people who don't deserve anything, because they're probably not that good.
Yeah.
And I say it too much, but Taika Waititi on his Instagram, like, he was at some Vogue event and he said, my imposter syndrome's really kicking in today. And I'm like, if he has
God, I'd love to work with him.
I know. That's a dream. That's a dream person I'd love to work with.
God, he's fascinating.
Wow. Yeah. But and it's like, I think especially with film or with anything that you do, you are evolving and changing, so I hope we are always looking at ourselves and like, ooh, okay, how could I do that better? It doesn't mean that I'm not talented. I think there's a lot of ego, especially with actors. They're like,
but you're laying a piece of you on the table for someone to hone and criticize and
totally. Yeah. And so that's, something you do have to know and deal with, but it's like, how can I get over myself and see what is best for the project.
The
Like
bigger
you were
picture.
saying, when like the director's like, great what you're doing, but I need it like this because you don't know how I'm going to edit it or cut it. Or,
Right.
And I think being a producer and on the other ends of these things, I think it makes it easier for us to kind of see like, oh, okay, my performance, just trust.
Trust.
Yeah.
It happened on Vespa that I was like, I saw the final cut and I was like, how did you know to do this? He's like, I knew how I was going to edit this. I knew what I saw. And this is why I got you to do this at that moment. I was like, you're a genius, because I did not know why we were doing that at the time.
Yeah.
So,
you gotta trust.
I assume it was actually somewhat. So this other was the first thing that you both produced, because I was just going to say that like it probably gave you got to see sides of filmmaking that you hadn't seen before too.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. First, really hands-on.
I think the
Yeah.
first very, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, it was interesting.
Yes. Because I kept going to the Nights Young and being like, so, producer, how far can I go with this? What do I say? Who needs to do this? Yeah. And they're like, just keep watching and learning.
And learning like there's different kind of types of producers. There's your line producer. There's this. I'm more of like a hands-on, like let's get in there. What do we need?
Yeah.
Cover.
I was like, but if it's about money, someone else can do that.
Yeah, I'm not gonna do that. I don't like numbers.
that's true. Your film has. I'm looking at it on my screen. 6 listed producers, including the two of you, and then I guess the Nights Young plus the director Jay.
Yes, Jay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jay's actually I think he's back in Philly now. So
Is he?
yeah, he's a Philly local.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's great. He's really great.
Yeah, he really did share parts of our story too. So
Yeah.
It was good to have a male perspective and see how it balanced. So yeah.
Yeah, and having our DP as well was Asian. Like we just had Alex
Alex
Laya.
Laya.
Whoop, whoop.
Yep.
We just it was nice to have.
They worked very well together because Jay has a background in cinematography. So him and Alex definitely were like, "Ooh, this is what we're gonna do with this."
Dance.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, we got lucky with them.
yes.
Yeah, actually, it is true. The chemistry of the whole crew matters,
Oh
Yes.
yeah. Yeah.
especially on something where it's probably not a huge crew.
Yeah.
Yes,
And
yeah.
tensions will get high, and it's everything worked seamlessly.
Yeah.
So we got very lucky.
We did. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, anything you want to mention before we wrap it up?
Go see other.
Go see it.
Yes.
Do you have it on anywhere besides Discover Indie Film? Like, because it's not exclusive, you can you
it's
can
up
have it
on-
on your own.
It's up on Vimeo with the Nights Young page.
The Nights Young, so people
Yeah.
probably see a lot of cool stuff there.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
But I will urge them to also get the show on. It's a show that you have to purchase now. It used to be included with Prime, and then Amazon said, we don't like sending you money. So
Well, but then that money
their
goes
service.
towards these independent films,
you
which
think,
are supporting them, at least giving them a platform.
We just got to it. We hit 10,000 people a week, and then they pulled us down and said you gotta charge 99 cents an episode instead, or $7.99 a season. But as I say,
That's not so much.
as I say into this microphone every time now, I'm like, hey, look, there's 25 films. You're paying $8 to see 25 films made by people who made films from their hearts, like for the right reasons.
Yeah.
There wasn't like a committee of old dudes sitting around saying, "How can we make more money?"
Right. Who will sell tickets?
Like you
Zero
made the
money.
film because you had a point you wanted to make, and you wanted to entertain, and you wanted to exercise your skills. So I mean, that's like it's a great thing.
It's great. I'm happy to pay for that service.
Yeah.
Me too, especially as I feel like I'm a newer filmmaker. I could say acting forever, but as a filmmaker, I have to learn. I want to see the top of the top. I want to see good films, and that's how you get better. So it's a great platform. Thank you.
Hey, you're preaching.
Yeah.
You're preaching to the choir there. Yeah, because at the fest, I always wonder like, why isn't the theater full of like filmmakers? Because
It's not their project.
Yeah, I know. Not that I remember if you guys came to more screenings, but like. Yeah, it's like we show. I think we had like 75 amazing films over the course of 8 days, and it was like, but I realized no one can go to everything.
Yeah. Right. It's also that
Life.
balance.
People have jobs and lives, and
Right.
they do weird things like eat dinner.
Yes. I've never
I'm like,
heard
well,
of
you could
it.
be at the theater from 6 to midnight.
Yeah, you can make it a date night.
Yeah.
Just dinner and then
Put put a pack of peanuts in a pocket.
That's
and
all you need.
Stick it out.
Snack
Stuffed.
away. Yes.
All right, well, I guess we'll wrap it up. Do you want to name a website or anything? Website? We already said your social media.
Instagram it is
Other Short Film.
at Other Short Film.
Yeah,
And
at Other Short Film, no punctuation, just Other Short Film.
Yep.
I should write that down.
The Vimeo link is on there as well, yeah.
Yes, it's a direct link from there.
In bio.
Excellent. And I'll link that in the show notes. That'll be on the show notes that go out to everyone.
Yeah.
Oh, remind me to get a picture of you by that microphone before. It says, this is so embarrassing. We talked all that time before I hit record. Huge font at the top of the page that I'm looking at says take pic. And I didn't.
Whoops.
I always forget. And then people get in their cars and drive away.
No, please come back.
And then I have to use it. I mean, I could just grab a picture from the festival.
Sure,
but it's more fun with the microphone and the waters. All right. Well, I am now going to go on my ramble to get us out of here.
All right.
You just got to listen to me, Jeff Howard, the programmer of 2 film festivals. I got to talk to Mandie Cheung and Samantha Jean. They made this wonderful film called Other. You should watch it right now. You could go watch it on the Vimeo page for The Night's Young, but actually you should go to Amazon Prime Video, type in Discover Indie Film, and purchase Season 6 for $7.99. Other is in Episode 2 with amazing film that's actually someone's biography. It's called Shevolution, and it's about a woman who overcomes drug addiction, including getting away from her drug-addicted partner. It's good shit. Wow. And from the heart, her own story. My goodness. Anyway, Other has more laughs. But I think there's laughs.
We can guarantee
it's
that.
A balance.
Yes,
It's a balance. So watch that on Amazon Prime. If you want to learn more about the podcast or the TV series, just go to discoverindiefilm.com, and on social media it's at DIFwins. And we said how Other won an award at the Sherman Oaks Film Festival last year. It's actually coming up soon. We hold it every November. You can learn more about that festival at ShermanOaksFF.com, and it's at ShermanOaksFF on social media. And there's a sister festival called Film Invasion Los Angeles, and we hold that every June, and it's at FilmInvasionLA.com, and it's at FilmInvasionLA on social media. And the last thing I'll mention is just for shits and giggles, because I'm glutton for punishment. I watch 1,500 films a year for these festivals, and some of them are really good to watch high, so we started THC Cinema. So if you go to THCcinema.com, you'll learn that on 4/20 of next year, we're going to hold the 3rd THC Cinema movie night. And, use drugs responsibly and watch films. Uber to the theater. And watch. And but it was really, what can I say? It was a very fun. I don't know if I told you this before we started recording, but at the end of there was about 65 people at the theater, and we watched 15 shorts in a row together, some music videos, some true. And when it ended, I heard a voice in the back go, "This has to happen again."
Live it for it.
And I was thinking, wow, I didn't think I was going to go through this again, but I guess give the people what they want.
You have to.
Yes.
So yeah, and that's at THC Cinema on the social media. So yeah, that'll be fun. All right, Samantha and Mandie, thank you so much for coming in and talking about your stuff.
This is so great.
Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you everyone for listening.